Every time I've had the girls, we have been in campsites in national forests and paid campsites that have campers. We've never done anything that was unsafe or anything I wouldn't want to put myself in.
We want to find him. We want to bring him to justice. We want to set up the opportunity for him to stand in front of our courts and our judges and face justice and hear the voices of Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia, whose lives were senselessly taken by evil.
This is Whitney Decker and her 3 beautiful young girls living in Washington state who were reported missing by their mother after not being returned home following an unsupervised visit with their father, Travis Decker, an ex-military man who had recently been diagnosed with severe PTSD as well as borderline personality disorder. It was known that Travis's mental health was deteriorating in the weeks leading up to the disappearance of the girls. However, when Travis did not return the girls to Whitney on May 30th, 2025, she immediately knew deep down that her daughters were in grave danger, but she still never could have expected the horrific outcome that would follow. Whitney and Travis Decker spent just a little over 7 years being married, and the couple met shortly after Travis returned home from a tour in Afghanistan that lasted from March to July of 2014. In the 7 years that Travis and Whitney were married, they would bring 3 beautiful girls into the world who were the light of their lives, and there's no doubt they loved these girls with everything they had. Their oldest, Paityn, their middle child, Evelyn, and their baby girl, Olivia, who spent the majority of their time with their mother, Whitney, while Travis was serving and providing for the family the best he could. These girls were not only loved by their parents, but were well known and cherished by the entire community where they were residing in Washington state, especially in the Lincoln Elementary School District in Wenatchee, where the young girls attended school. By the year 2022, after over 7 years of being married, Whitney began questioning the mental health and well-being of her then-husband Travis, and due to his deteriorating state, would eventually file for divorce that same year. In the petition for divorce that was filed on November 14, 2022, and viewed by several reporters, Whitney stated, "Travis has some emotional and mental health issues that were the primary catalyst to the end of our marriage, and have also affected the girls greatly." At the same time, a parenting plan was also filed, and at that time, Whitney noted in her paperwork there was no protection order or restraining order needed in their case. It also included the fact that at the time, there were no concerns of abandonment, mistreatment, domestic violence, assault, and neither parent had any problems with substance abuse, lack of emotional ties, withholding the children, or anything of the matter. They were simply getting a parenting plan in place following the divorce, and it was finalized early the next year on March 7th of 2023. It was set for Travis to have the girls every other weekend from Friday at 6 p.m. to Sunday at 6 p.m., which worked for everyone involved, until things started to shift in Travis's life, causing Whitney to rethink the situation they had. A little over a year later, in September of 2024, Whitney went back and filed for a modification to the parenting plan due to Travis's instability and circumstances. Whitney asked the court for a major change in the parenting plan due to substantial changes in one of the parent situations, of course being Travis's. Following their separation, it was clear that Travis was struggling to maintain any stability in his life and was labeled as transient in the modification filing. After the divorce, Travis moved into the Armory in Wenatchee, and then a few months later would move into an apartment, but when his lease was up, he decided to buy an RV and live in that. In May of 2024, Travis moved roughly 500 miles away to Idaho with his RV, but shortly after that happened, his RV ended up getting repossessed, so he was once again without housing. So during the times that Travis did have the girls with him overnight in 2024, he would often have them with him at the Armory, sleeping on mattresses on the floor. When Whitney found out about this, she quickly expressed her concerns that she didn't feel comfortable with the girls sleeping around a bunch of random men that she didn't know. She then went on to detail some of the instability that Travis displayed, which led to her filing for the modification of the parenting plan, and the fact that Travis was often homeless or sleeping in his truck or different hotels, motels, and camping grounds for the time being, which the girls should definitely not be involved in. Whitney also clearly stated she did not want to keep the girls from Travis at all. She knows he loves them very much, she just wanted Travis to get better for the girls. She only wanted the overnight visits to cease until Travis established some stable housing and showed some consistent stability for them. But at the time, he was just too unstable and was consistently getting worse and worse with his mental illness and outbursts, which was only damaging his relationship with the girls. It was September 27, 2024, when Travis and Whitney both appeared in court to discuss the parenting plan between the two, and the court agreed there was enough evidence to modify the parenting plan, meaning Travis would no longer have the girls overnight, but was granted visitation with them every Friday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Sundays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It was during this court hearing that Travis spoke and said he didn't agree because he liked to take the girls camping, which is something they've always done as a family.
When I was separated from my original active duty, I came out into the civilian world and tried to figure out a way that I could live as a civilian. I didn't have family, I didn't have friends, I didn't have any support, especially coming to a state where I didn't have anybody to lean on or a couch to go sleep on. So when we initially went through our divorce, I went and put the uniform back on full time so I could support myself and support the family through the first big transition of dad not being at home anymore. Once I fulfilled my year obligation, I talked to my chain of command and stepped down from full active duty and transitioned into, my contract ended in December of 2023. Starting over is hard, and I'm starting at the bottom, and I've got a long way to go, but I don't think that it should restrict the time that I get to be around my daughters.
We're not trying to take these children away from Mr. Decker. We respect and appreciate the fact that he loves his kids. That's obvious by the fact that he's attending their events. It's just important that they have this consistency in their lives.
Since I have been gone, every time I've had the girls, we have been in campsites in national forests and paid campsites that have campers. We've never done anything that was unsafe or anything I wouldn't want to put myself in. I understand that my current position when I'm by myself isn't ideal, but my daughters aren't a part of that. I only get to see them over the weekends, and camping is something that the four of us have done since the three of them were in diapers. I've never done anything I feel like that puts them in any sort of a risk that most families in the state of Washington, every campsite we've been to in the last month have been almost completely booked out or sold out because everybody's out this time of year. When I stepped away from the National Guard, I was making $86,000 a year, and now I make, I think it's like $38,000 a year. When you start over from zero and you don't have help in a hand to get you through it, makes it a little more difficult.
One of the things I need to consider when I look at the best interest of the children is stability, and that's not stable. It's not stable having them in different places every time you have them. That's concerning to the court, regardless of whether it's in an RV, whether it's in a tent, whether it's in Airbnb, whether it's at a hotel, a motel. That's not stable, and that's always a concern for the court.
The court agreed with Whitney in the proposed parenting plan and ordered that Travis did in fact need to get an anger management and domestic violence evaluation, as well as a psychiatric evaluation done by a licensed psychiatrist. However, it's also stated that Travis refused to sign the parental modification form and never did seek mental health help or get any of the required assessments done, even though he was ordered by the court. Regardless, the visitation continued just in this new regime, but still, Whitney never could have anticipated the devastation that was about to shatter her world. On Friday, May 30th, 2025, the girls were scheduled to be with their father from 5 p.m. that day until 8 p.m., and Travis was going to be picking them up from their home in Wenatchee. When Travis arrived to pick the girls up, Whitney noted that Travis was considerably more quiet and reserved than he usually was when picking the girls up, which was completely out of character for him, and she thought it was odd, but didn't really think too much of it. Either way, Whitney gave Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia each a hug and a kiss and told them she loved them before they left the home with their father. "We'll see you at 8. Was the last thing that Travis would say to Whitney before departing, and then the four of them hopped in his vehicle and drove off. Typically, Travis would always return the girls on time, and if he was running late, he was pretty good about calling Whitney and letting her know so that she wasn't worried. However, when 8 o'clock rolled around and Travis had still not shown up with the girls or even called Whitney to let her know that they would be late, Whitney immediately had a bad feeling start brewing in her stomach because Travis had never failed to return the kids. She attempted to call Travis, but when she did, it would just go right to voicemail as if his phone was off. She called several times, but it just continued happening and she couldn't get a hold of him. With the fear that Whitney had, it didn't take her long to realize she needed to call the authorities and get them involved for the safety of her children. It was around 9:30 p.m. that night that Whitney picked up the phone and dialed 911 to report the disappearance of 9-year-old Paityn, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia, saying it was out of the ordinary, and because of the mental health issues he was experiencing, she more than felt the need to call the police. It wasn't long before Whitney was in tears over her daughters being missing and the fear she felt when they were not returned to her. Following her reporting this, authorities would check all the motels and hotels, plus all the nearby campgrounds in Wenatchee and the surrounding areas, but Travis's name was not listed on any of them. The Wenatchee Police Department contacted the Washington State Patrol and requested that an Amber Alert be issued for Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia, but that request was denied due to them believing there was no real evidence that the 3 girls were in danger or at risk of injury or death, so no Amber Alert was issued for them. May 30th ended with no sign of the girls, but the search for them continued and the concern only grew and grew as time went on. The following day, being May 31st, the girls were scheduled to show up at a running event they had at one of the local parks, but Travis and the girls were once again nowhere to be found. So officers relayed more information regarding their disappearance to the Washington State Patrol, and they would finally issue an endangered persons alert regarding the girls, but still no Amber Alert due to the same claims and lack of evidence. Authorities started putting a mass amount of people and resources on the ground and into this investigation in order to locate Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia, believing they were in harm's way, but they couldn't locate them or Travis anywhere. They weren't going to give up until they located them, though. 3 days after the search for the girls began, on June 2nd, authorities finally located Travis Decker's abandoned truck that was found near the Rock Island Campground in Leavenworth, Washington, which was the first sign of him they had come across since Friday night. When they examined Decker's truck, they noted there were 2 bloody handprints found on it, and on the inside of it were things such as a blanket, some food, as well as car seats for the girls. It's also stated they located a wallet in the center console of the vehicle, which I assume belonged to Travis. So investigators immediately started to canvass the surrounding area. It was then, about 100 yards away from the location of his truck, down an embankment, they located the bodies of his 3 young daughters, who had been missing for roughly 3 days at that point. 9-year-old Paityn, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia had been bound by their wrists and suffocated with plastic bags, according to the authorities. They would then cancel the alert that was issued for the girls and reveal they had located the remains of the Decker girls, leaving their mother and community shattered by the outcome, but Travis was still at large. Subsequent to the discovery, a massive manhunt and further investigation was launched for Travis Decker, who was still missing and on the run. Travis is a highly capable military man who has been trained in evasion and outdoor survival and is considered to be dangerous. It's unknown if he is armed, but very well could be and should be approached with caution or not at all. He was last seen wearing a light shirt and dark shorts, standing 5'8" and weighing roughly 190 pounds with black hair that was in a ponytail detail according to authorities. They are urging Washington residents to call 911 if they have any information regarding Travis and his whereabouts, or if they see him anywhere. Since then, over 500 tips have poured into the cops, but none of them have led to the discovery of Travis, who police were presuming was still alive and on the run. During the subsequent investigation, they learned through Travis's cell phone data that he had driven to and through Rock Island Campground the night prior to picking his girls up, and then he returned there with them the following day. Along with that, 4 days prior to their murder, Travis went online and conducted the following searches: how to relocate to Canada, as well as how does a person move to Canada? Travis would also search through Canadian job sites while online and going through these things, which is interesting considering the location the girls were found is about 11 miles away from the Pacific Crest Trail, which is an established trail that leads directly to the Canadian border, and officials believe he may have tried to flee to Canada. Meaning he very well could have attempted to do what these online searches suggest, or it was simply a diversion to make police believe that was his plan, and he went the complete opposite way. Travis Decker is wanted for 3 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of first-degree kidnapping after allegedly suffocating his 3 daughters, and everyone wants to see him brought to justice. There is always the possibility that Travis decided to unalive himself after the crime, and many people, including Whitney, believe there's a good chance he very well may have taken that route. Authorities have since shifted some of their resources to accommodate the fact that he may no longer be alive, but they are not going to stop searching for him until they find him dead or alive. The best word I can think of to describe the search they are putting into finding him would be relentless. They are up in the mountains, canvassing miles and miles of wilderness, and just went all out in order to find this man. But the more days that pass, the less likely it is he's going to be found alive. Nearing the end of June, the authorities have shifted more towards putting resources in for the retrieval of his body, thinking he is most likely deceased at this point in time. Although myself, along with many others, are hoping he is not, and he is caught so he can stand in front of a judge and face justice for his heinous actions that day regarding the death of the precious 3 sisters. It makes me wonder, how did he go about doing this, and just how petrified those poor little girls had to be when they realized their dad had completely turned on them and had nothing but bad intentions with them that day. It's egregious to imagine, it's heartbreaking to think about, and I can't even begin to comprehend how you can do this to your 3 precious daughters, back to back to back, without feeling utterly disgusted with yourself. There's a reward of $20,000 being offered by authorities for any information leading to Decker, and it's only a matter of time before they get to him, dead or alive. What I'm curious to know of is his true motive. Was he upset about his parenting time being diminished and his wages being garnished due to unpaid child support, and he just wanted to hurt his ex-wife by completely destroying her life and taking the lives of their daughters? Whitney says he and the girls did have a great relationship, so it's hard for me to believe this is strictly related to his mental illness and deteriorating mindset. No matter what it was, Travis, what you've done is f***ing disgusting, and you deserve nothing less than the worst. Unaliving yourself would be too easy for you, and you deserve to face the consequences for what you did that day. I hope and I pray that somehow justice finds you. My heart has been heavy creating this video, and the moment I heard Whitney speak about her loving 3 little girls was the moment I started crying. The pain this poor mother has been put through is insurmountable, and she is so much stronger than I ever could be. There was a huge memorial service held by family, friends, and the community to remember the girls and show their respect to them. And at this large gathering to honor the girls, Whitney broke her silence and spoke about the loving nature of Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia. It was then Whitney touched on the 3 feelings tradition they would partake in every night before bedtime, and the heartbreak I feel for her is impalpable.
I just have a short something to share. Good evening, and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. You all look beautiful, and I know that Evie would have loved to ooh and ah over all of your outfits. She would have been amazed by all the color out there and just thought you guys look fantastic. You know that Paityn would have sought each and every one of you out to try to find something to give you a compliment for. She did that for everyone, whether it was in the grocery store or at school or with me, always telling me, "Oh, you look so beautiful, Mom. I love your earrings," or whatever it was that she could find. I wanted to share a means of connection the girls and I had that I think allowed them to have such warm and open hearts to the community around them. After my divorce, there were a lot of feelings flowing through my house. As you could imagine, me going through a divorce with 3 small, tiny women. Some of the feelings were easier to talk about than others. Through the girls' time with Children's Home Society and some incredible therapists, we discovered the 3 feelings. At night, during their bedtime routine, I would ask them what 3 feelings they felt during that day. No feeling too big or too small, and what was going on when they felt those feelings. For Paityn, she always had more than 3, consistently eager to tell me about every minute of her day. She was always interrupting her sisters to make sure I knew every single one. For Ev, we would talk about her feelings one-on-one, right at bedtime, because she wasn't always ready to share them with her sisters. And for Olivia, we were still working on how to describe all of her feelings, but beyond a shadow of a doubt, one was always happy. Even when I tried to avoid telling my feelings, which is so easy to do as an adult, I feel like, the girls, one of them would always say, "Wait, Mom, you didn't tell me what yours were," and make sure that I too would tell them what my 3 feelings were. I'm so thankful for the time that I had with the girls, and how the 3 feelings allowed us to connect when the world slowed down. And it really gave me an inside look into their day. I believe doing this with them allowed them to come into the world with open hearts and kindness. I hope that you are all able to do some version of the 3 feelings with your loved ones. Thank you everyone for being here tonight and the outpouring of love that you have shown me and my family over the past few weeks. I truly hope that the legacy of the girls' lives lives in everyone's heart forever. They were incredible.
These girls were so dearly loved by everyone who knew them, and there isn't a soul in that community who is not still deeply mourning their absence. In order to help Whitney through this tough time, there was a GoFundMe made by somebody close to her that was created to help her with expenses and give her some time off work to grieve and care for herself as she gets through this unimaginably tough time. That GoFundMe has amassed over $1.2 million since being created, and I will leave the link at the top of the description if you would like to donate. So many people from around the world have stepped in to help, and it's amazing to see that Whitney has the support that she truly needs to get through this, because I don't think I would be able to. Whitney, I am so sorry for what you're going through. I know that changes nothing, but I am sorry, and you are constantly in my heart and prayers through this time. Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia were 3 girls with some of the warmest hearts you could ever imagine, and smiles that could light up the entire world. The love these girls showed to each and every person they came in contact with was special. They were so in tune with their feelings and caring about everyone around them. The memory of these girls is something that will never go away or be forgotten, and their spirits will continue to shine bright. To the beautiful 3 sisters, 9-year-old Paityn, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 5-year-old Olivia, rest easy, girls. You will never be forgotten.
Flowers left for all to see, but the dash between your years is what brings me to my knees. Your words live on deep in my bones. I'll never let you go.